Welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. So, today is April 4th, Mystery Review 89. This one, or April, will be doing resurrection themes as kind of like the biblical sense, but without so much biblical connection. The movies that I have going will all have a character or characters be revived. And the first one that I did could have been two movies, for all you know. The first hint that I gave was Mother Resurrected, A Mother Resurrected. Now, there are two movies that fit this criteria. One is The Mummy Returns, in which Rachel Weisz's character is revived by her son using the Book of the Dead. The second movie, which is the actual right answer, is Blade, the movie with Wesley Snipes, where his mother was revived due to a vampire bite. Now, the other hints that led to Blade being the pick was pre-bullet time, meaning before The Matrix came out, this movie had bullet effects to illustrate the speed of super speed characters, like in the shot where Deacon Frost dodges silver bullets in order to stay alive from Blade. Also, Erebus, Erebus. The House of Erebus is a vampire house of the Vampire Nation, in which Deacon Frost is a lowly member of. And the final hint was, which came in an hour before the stream, I must release you, which is what Eric, or Blade, says to his mother before driving a wooden shard or a bone shard through her heart, killing her. So, without further ado, let's say hello to the chat. I got Ruben Thomas official here. How you doing, Ruben? Good to see you. Neozoic, good to see you. And we will see others in the chat most likely as the stream goes on. So, back in 98, Stephen Norrington directed Blade with Wesley Snipes as the titular character. Stephen Dorff, shout out to Stephen Dorff for completely destroying the MCU with some of his statements. Chris Christopherson, who plays the greatest rendition of Whistler that I've ever seen. And Bush Wright, who plays Karen Jensen. Donald Logue, who plays Deke, not Deke, but Quinn. Sanaa Lathan, who plays the mother of Blade. I forget her name. Udo Kier, who plays Gaetano Dragonetti, the leader of the House of Erebus. Arlie Jover, who plays Mercury, the crazy Irish blonde in this film. She's a vampire. Tim Guinea, who plays Curtis, and many, many others. So, the beginning of this movie is the opening scene of 1967. I believe it was in Detroit, with the birth of Blade, and how I love how they, you hear in the overspeaks of the doctors, Jesus Christ, she looks like she was bitten by some kind of animal and whatnot, which is the common trope for vampire victims. They've been bitten by some sort of animal because of, well, long teeth and fangs. Yeah. But yeah. And then she ends up flatlining in 1967. Now, the cut that shows her reaching for her baby is used throughout the film as a kind of memory trigger for Blade. So it is very possible and plausible that due to the genetic changes that Blade underwent due to the vampiric bite sustained by his mother, was also able to trigger him being able to remember things on the day of his birth. Kind of like Powder in that instance, where his mom was struck by lightning and he was able to remember everything even before the moment of his birth. Would you say Eric Brooks' Blade movie design is better than Marvel's comics original design? I will say that it is a great modern adaptation. I will say that at the time in the 90s, it was a brilliant interpretation. Neozoic will ask questions throughout to keep, and that is one of the things I really do love. I love an interactive chat. If you have questions or comments, I will do my best to go through them as they come. So then we skip to the present and the sped up cinematography, which shows the day turning to night and a woman bring a guy to a dance club. And this dude is in for way more than he originally thought, because he thinks he's going to or out clubbing with a girl, probably going to have some, or gets lucky, have some sex, you know. Well, not exactly going to go the way he wants it. So they arrive at this club, and it's a nice little club that's doing some very nice, lively beat and whatnot. And I actually had that tune on my original MP3 player, which fucking disappeared somewhere. I have no idea where it disappeared. I think one of my brothers got it. But anyway, you also see the inhuman cutting, which shows some of the characters like Mercury, where she's looking at a person and then suddenly her shirt's open and then suddenly her shirt's off. It's kind of showing the vampiric nature of this character, which is pretty cool. Also, you see the character of now Mercury is the one that's played by Arlie Jover, and she is purely Irish woman. Or she also plays in Vampires Los Muertos, which is very well done in itself with Bon Jovi. It was a sequel to John Carpenter's Vampires. But yes, she plays the elder in that one, and she plays a lowly vampire in this one. The speeding up of the vampire movement is pretty cool. The scene also features an on-screen blowjob. There's this woman giving Donald Logue while he's making out with another girl. He's just bobbing her head down, up and down. Basically, you can't see his junk, but you absolutely know what is happening in that scene as clear as his day, which I love, because this is a rated R movie, which should be when it comes to certain characters that are of the anti-hero variety. When you have characters like Deadpool, Blade, Spider-Man Noir, you need a rated R movie, because these are people who will kill. When it's Punisher, you better freaking make that rated R. Otherwise, there's no point in even making a movie like this. So Blade, thankfully, is rated R, and it is very good. And because of its rated R, it gets to allow certain things, like the on-screen blowjob scene during this entire musical thing. Now, this guy's looking for the girl that he came in with. He finally catches up to her, and the Irish chick shove him off. And he's like, fuck, fine, screw it. And then you also get a tease of Deacon Frost being there, walking by the human that's in amongst a sleuth of vampires dancing in this thing. And he starts feeling drips on his hand, on his face. He looks up. The disc jockey goes like this, and the words in back of him you see bloodbath, which is the sprinkler systems start just spraying blood everywhere. It is so great. Opinions on a deleted scene, an alternative scene where Morbius, the living vampire, makes an appearance. I've not seen that, although I have heard that Stephen Norrington played the Michael Morbius character. I will have to look for that. Lobo definitely works for an R rating. There's even a TVMA web series back in 2000. Nice. And hello to Christian Freight. It's good to see you. Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill. Yep, I made sure to put that in my talking points for this. So the blood starts coming, and you actually see some of the vampires allowing their fangs to be seen and whatnot. And the guy's freaking out because he's getting covered in blood. And it's not normal human behavior. So it's like, yeah, I'd kind of freak out too. and all these people around are just getting high off of it. And his girlfriend sees him, and she's like, "What's wrong, baby?" And every one of them start hissing and growling at him, and one's even laughing at him crazily. And then as he's running out, trying to get out, one dude just, pow! I absolutely love how they sell the impact of this. They actually give that brief one frame flash of light to sell the impact that one of these guys just decked him. And they all start kicking him, and as he's starting to try to crawl away, well, he crawls right up to the feet of somebody who's beyond the bloodline or the line of blood on the floor, and all decked out in leather. And this is one of the best freaking introductions in a movie, in a Marvel movie, period. As introduction scenes go, this one is top of the line. New Line Cinema knew how to do freaking hero movies better than MCU current. Let's just say that. New Line Cinema wanted the film to be overly comedic and Blade to be whitewashed. Thank goodness David S. Goyer refused that idea. Well, then New Line Cinema in this case, or in that case, were freaking stupid, because Blade ain't no fucking comedic character. Yes, you can have some funny moments, but he is not a person that really sells comedy very well. I mean, yes, there is a moment later on in the film, which I will actually get to, which my friend Elena, if she's watching, will appreciate, because we were talking about it yesterday. But yes, you see these vampires immediately backing up. So it's like, okay, this dude is immediate, or if you've never heard of Blade and whatnot, you understand this is a guy that these people fear. They're backing up. Some of them are brave and whatnot, but they're still backing up. And you hear some of the lines, it's like, Jesus, it's him. It's Blade. It's the Daywalker. Now, I remember back when I saw this movie originally for the first time, I thought somebody said it's the Bay one or something like that, because I couldn't hear it clearly, because back then the audio was not as good. They actually did a good job at separating the audio a little bit better in the digital release. And so he just slowly starts wading into the group, and they're all backing up. And then you hear one guy, "Come on, Daywalker!" And that's when he starts getting to slaughtering the vamps, pulling out a shotgun with two freaking silver stakes protruding from the bottom of it, blasting vampires. One of them grabs two hook swords and starts swooshing them around like this and whatnot. Ends up getting blasted for that one. Now, the ashing effects, I really do like the ashing effects in this movie better than I do in the second and third movies. Where in the second and third movies, you see a really slow burning up, where in this movie, they ash. You see a slight burn of the skin just burning out and then ashing, unless it's sunrise, and then it's completely extremely freaking gruesome in that way to go, which I absolutely love how they did that in this movie with Udo Kier later on. But the ashing that they do in this movie is a lot better than the ashing effects in the second and third. So then you see the girl who brought in the human, "Hey, I'm going to rip your fucking head off," gets smacked by or gets a roundhouse kick, sending her flying. Then she's back up, so he hits her in the knee and then blows her head off. And it's like just a brilliant shot. He also does a really good job when he's out of shotgun rounds. He actually, let me show you how. Or this is a fake one, folks. This is completely wooden. So he actually flourishes or starts twirling the shotgun like this, and then whips it, tripping up another vampire trying to run away, which is pretty cool. And also in the background, you can see the human guy trying to crawl to get out of the scene, which is pretty nice. Then you see Mercury and a few others open fire on him, and he whips out his weapon, which is a 9mm Uzi with a whole deck belt out over it to make it look or for a modified look and whatnot, which is pretty cool. I absolutely love the design of the weapon. And he fires on them, silver bullets. He kills the DJ, who pulls his own weapon. I mean, it's just a small little burst. It's full auto pistol, basically, folks. It's a fully automatic 9mm caseless rounds. So yeah, great shot in there. And so then after he wipes out most of them, you see Quinn come in, played by the brilliant Donald Logue, and he's like, "That's him, get him, fuck him up. We're going to jack you up, make him hurt bad." I mean, this just makes it look like that this dude really freaking hates Blade. And we realize why later on. Opinions on change of Deacon Frost being a young adult male in the film instead of a late middle-aged gentleman from the comics. Well, I'm going to say that Stephen Dorff did one hell of a job as Deacon Frost, as a kind of over-the-top, kind of doesn't give a shit anymore about humanity vampire. And Stephen Dorff just does this role perfectly, in my opinion. Now, changing from a middle-aged, I can't do much comic comparison, Neozoic, because honestly, I've never read the comics. I'm not a comic person. Michael Jai White voiced Blade in recent Midnight Suns game. Perfect casting. Honestly, yes, because Michael Jai White is also a martial artist, as is Wesley Snipes. Both of them are insane martial artists who can do a fair bit of damage. So this is where Blade pulls his sword, and he starts cutting up the vamps. And then we get into the round room area of this area, which is like a shower room. And he gets up against the wall, pulls up the glaive, and it's like... And Donald Logue stops. And as soon as Blade smiles, showing it, Donald Logue knows what's happening. He gets down. So Blade throws it. You hear, and he catches it. And then you see the three guards that came in drop because their heads are gone. And they were vampires as well, so they ashed out. So then you see Donald Logue jump at Blade. He gets knocked down. And Blade grabs his shotgun again and holds it up to Donald Logue, who has his knife up like this, and he stops. Doing, or it gets pinned to the wall with the two silver stakes, one here, one here. It is just so freaking great. Did you know that Blade Trinity would have been set in a dystopian future, but New Line changed it due to budget? Yes, I did. Christopher H., yes, I did. I actually like their unrated version of Blade Trinity better than the theatrical, because the theatrical, it just didn't go well, you know. I liked how the unrated version gives a little bit more and changes up things a tiny bit. So then he gets up, and Quinn is speaking in a Slavic language that is not being translated, he's repeating the same thing over and over. So I'm guessing he's probably saying, "I'm not going to tell you shit," or "you motherfucker," or something in Slavic. And Blade tells him, he's like, "Quinn, I'm getting a little tired of chopping you up. Thought I might try fire for a change. Give my regards to Frost." He tosses the thing onto Quinn, and Quinn lights up like a Roman candle. And that's when the human who came to the party, "Hey, Cassie, good to see you. Always a pleasure, folks. Sub to Cassie. She's a great content creator herself. She does live movie watches on Sundays. And if you're a member, you could also help her pick the movie. So yeah, she's a great YouTuber. She also discusses gaming stuff as well, where I'm not so much into the gaming anymore. She is very heavily into it, so definitely check out her channel if you like gaming and whatnot. How would you compare Wesley Snipes as Eric Brooks, Blade, with the other roles such as Demolition Man, Passenger 57, etc.? Wesley Snipes is a great actor. It sucks that his career kind of took a nosedive when he got arrested for tax evasion. But other than that, I think that he has always been a great freaking actor. He plays his roles with such range that really works, you know? Demolition Man, he played a psychotic killer. And he played that insanity very well. But he also played serious bits of it as well, you know? Or one of my favorite roles of Wesley Snipes is Murder at 1600, where he has to solve the murder of a White House. And he is not superhuman in any way, and he does such a great job with it. I also liked him in Expendables 3. Or was it 2? No, 3. He did, for the brief bit that he was in, he had a great bit in that movie, and I really loved it. So yeah, there's also, people should give Blade credit because it started the Marvel movie mania, but Raimi's Spider-Man 2002 got the credit. Yeah, exactly. Blade was too dark, or it was rated R, so it's not something that most kids would see, you know. But yes, it does deserve a lot more credit than it gets. And yes, I'll always shout out those who are great people, you know, Cass. And you are one of those great people. So, when he checks the human, I love what he does. He actually turns the human, puts him on his knees, and turns his face, both sides, checking for bite marks. And then he just jumps out there. He's a more convincing actor than most, I must say. Yeah, indeed. And when you see that he's a little bit pissed, but then he looks off and you see cops. Now, there was originally supposed to be a Stan Lee cameo in this scene. He would be the cop that discovered Quinn being burned against the wall. However, because he was not part of the creation of Blade, the character specifically, they decided to cut Stan Lee out and not give him a cameo for this film. So, yeah, what should have been, you know? Which honestly sucks. And if you watch this movie with full screen or widescreen, you see Blade just getting out of there as the cops are coming in, and he was hiding from the cops and goes into a grading system and comes out and walks off to his car. Now, we then get introduction to Karen. And she is a hematologist at the coroner's office. And I love how this movie also covers biology of vampires, Vampire Anatomy 101 and whatnot. How would you compare Blade with the other two Marvel film movies that started the whole Marvel movie mania, Spider-Man and Bryan Singer's X-Men? Blade is actually better than both, in my opinion. Yes, I said that Blade 1 is better than Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. I just said that, and as good as those movies are, Blade was better in my opinion. Me, I've always been for the more grittier and violent when it comes to superhero stuff. Excuse me. I mean, and if they have the ability to go for it, they should go for it in certain things. When you have a anti-hero, not a superhero, an anti-hero, make him kill. Make him say, fuck, shit, cunt, and all those other words that everybody hates and everybody's offended by. Because if you have this anti-hero, then you have a freaking case or a product that works and that fits the hero. You know? These damn freaking ladybug things. So yeah, if you really listen to the conversation about the DOA that comes in, how the cops saw him still screaming, chained or stapled to a wall, and you see that it's Quinn's burnt body. His red blood cells are biconvex, which I have no idea what that means. It's supposedly impossible. And the polysaccharides are binucleated, which is apparently supposed to be impossible as well. So she goes down to take a look at the body because the coroner is asking her just to take a look. And you also understand that these two were once an item. And he asks her, honestly, or do you ever have second thoughts about us? And she even told him, I don't want to hear anything about us. Done. Look, we had that conversation. First thing he gets into when he gets down there, you ever have second thoughts about us? Sometimes, but then I remember how much of an asshole you were. And but even before that, she was checking out odd muscle structure behind the canines, which suggests that your whole anatomy changes when you become a vampire. You get more muscles up in this area to help push down elongated canines. So that's an interesting thing as well. I do like the science behind this a lot. Vampires can't or have to drink blood because their own blood can't sustain hemoglobin. So it's a genetic defect, essentially, which allows for the cure to be a thing in this movie. So while she tells Curtis that it's over, this gives the best freaking jump scare in Marvel history, because Quinn just freaking comes right back to life and just starts ripping into Curtis and starts screaming and whatnot. And then he looks at Karen, and Karen looks down at Curtis, and then only when Quinn starts going for her does she turn around and run, but too late. He catches up to her and starts gnawing into her freaking neck. And everybody's like, call security, call security. And then you see Blade coming up, and Blade just fucking walks right up, just smacks him right in the face. Came back to finish you off. And he's like, get out of my way, you freak. So then you see him get his arm chopped off. And that's when the freaking police come in. You also see Karen see the arm just ash right in front of her. And then two police officers are like, freeze! And then they open fire on him as he turns around, hitting him square in the chest. Motherfucker, are you out of your damn mind? I just love that line. It's like, motherfucker, are you out of your damn mind? And they just turn and run. I mean, he's got some pretty strong freaking body armor, and I love it. But because of that, you also see Quinn takes off, and he wants to go after him, and Quinn jumps out a window. Well, okay, cops are coming. Quinn just escaped, lands in a freaking moving ambulance, and jumps out of there. So he's gone, and Blade looks down at the doctor, is about to leave, but he's now seeing flashes of his mother dying. And he looks back down at her, decides to fucking take her with him. Obviously, it's because he has unresolved mommy issues. No. No. So the cops get there, and they're firing on him as he has her in his arms. There's a chance they might hit her, but they're still firing on her. Just goes to show you that the police back in 97 and 98 did not seem to care too much about the hostage's welfare, or supposed hostage's welfare. How would you compare David S. Goyer's writing in Blade trilogy to the writing of other brood dark superhero trilogy film, the Dark Knight trilogy? The Dark Knight trilogy was a far surpassed in skill. But it's also comparing apples to oranges. You have a Nolan film and you have a Norrington film. Norrington does things a certain way, where Nolan does things in a very different and complex way. So, yes, David Goyer's writing is good in both of those, or in both trilogies. However, the writing really suffers in the second or in the third movie. I don't like a lot of the writing in the third movie. Now, the dated CGI effects when he throws Karen across, they had to do some screen wipe, Vaseline, and other stuff to kind of make it look like she's crossing over the road and getting thrown, you know? It's really great. Or it's really dated, rather. I meant to say dated, not great. And then you see him jump, and it's basically the same kind of thing. Those kind of effects are very dated nowadays. You can do so much better with them now. We then see him escape from shooting or popping her arm back in, and then evading the police, even after they bring a sniper to shoot at him. You then have them drive till dawn, which is nice, and the introduction to Whistler, played brilliantly by Chris Christopherson. His warning to Blade to watch her close, and when she starts to turn, you finish her off, or I will. I love the dynamic between Blade and Whistler. It is sort of kind of like a father and son, but it is also damn serious. When he says, Blade, you're going to either finish her off or I will. You should have killed her. You shouldn't have brought her in here. You should have freaking killed her, basically. He's like, you should have killed her then. Yeah, I know, but I didn't. So instead, they inject her full of garlic, and you see the bite marks kind of ash off, which means that a lot of the virus is dying out because of the immediate injection that she got after being bitten by Quinn. Now, yes, he waited till dawn to bring her home, which was a few hours off, so she was a few hours well into the change. But it does take some time for a person to change to a vampire. And it really does, or he's like, I give her 50-50 if she makes it through the night, or 50-50 that she makes it through the night. And then he just goes right back to work with what he was doing. I absolutely love it, you know? So then we get to the house of the council of the House of Erebus. Udo Kier plays Dragon Eddie and does so brilliantly. Deacon Frost they're going over what happened at Deacon Frost's club. And he's like, Blade, the Daywalker, still pursuing his ridiculous crusade. How many died? We don't have an exact count. Apparently he used a lot of silver. Send in Frost. I mean, Udo Kier plays so many great, bad, evil characters. I mean, he plays one of the devil's minions in End of Days. He just has that kind of role where he could play a very bad character, and it does so very well. You know? Which is both funny and ironic that both Blade trilogy and Dark Knight trilogy are parallel to each other and having a good first film, best second film, and bad third film. I'll disagree with you, Neozoic. Blade's first film was best. You had a good second film. Don't get me wrong. Great second film. But the first film was best. Guillermo del Toro went too heavy on the digital double CGI for Blade 2. And he also changed things up a little bit too much. But it was a good expansion of lore, do not get me wrong, with the Reapers. That was a great expansion. And the third film was freaking god-awful. So, yes, while the second film is by far a great with expanding the lore, it is not as good as the first film, in my opinion. But we'll agree to disagree. And yes, understandable. So, they send in Deacon Frost, and one guy starts speaking to him in an ancient vampire language, saying that Deacon is a disgrace to the vampire nation, the whole of the vampire nation. He's uncaring about the vampire politics, which draws great ire from them. And apparently the vampires have a treaty with the politicians, and they have their hands into everything. Politics, real estate. They own half of downtown Detroit City and the police, mind you. And apparently this treaty is between the human politicians and the vampire nation. And Frost is like, and they're like, these nightclubs of yours are dangerous. They draw needless attention to our policy or to our kind. You know our policy. Your policy, not mine. We should be ruling the humans, not making back alley treaties with them. For fuck's sake, these people are our food, not our allies. And they say that he's out of line. And he's like, or am I saying out loud what everybody else has been thinking? And that's when Dragonetti reminds him. He's like, our existence or our way of life has worked well for over 1,000 years. And who are you to challenge our ways? You're not even a pureblood. Like it matters. I was born a vampire as well as every member of this house. But you, Frost, you were merely turned. And Frost doesn't care about the hierarchy. He thinks it's foolish because all of them are stronger or all of them are just vampires, you know? He doesn't care about the hierarchy, but he is planning to get rid of the hierarchy. Just watch 1 and 2 and you're good. Yeah, exactly, NB Geek. Good to see you, by the way. So when he says one last thing, he's like, the world belongs to us, not the humans. And Dragonetti doesn't care about it. He's like, is there any other business to be discussed? And they start discussing, and that's when he tells him, Gitano, you may wake up one of these days and find yourself extinct. And then he walks off. It's just like, well, that isn't ominous at all, you know? So Blade shows up at the serum smuggler's place to get some more serum, and he's there. And I love how this works. He gives him a bunch of freaking high-end watches. Basically, when you're hunting down the rabbits of the vampires, you steal their watches. So, yeah. And Blade is starting to build up a resistance to the serum that he takes in order to keep his thirst at bay. And later on, back at the place, he's getting strapped up to get his serum, and Kate wakes up, sees finds herself in the armory, touches the handle of the blade or of his sword. Now, basically, all she did was basically just touch a little bit on the sword, which immediately triggers a timer on the sword, which spins all the way around it. And as she's looking at the thing, suddenly the blades come out. So that's a good setup for what happens later. Hey, it's okay. And yes, you do get props or Vanja does get props for guessing this movie. He guessed it on without any other hint. But yeah. So the blade trap this handle trap in the blade or in Blade's sword is a nice setup for what happens later with another vampire who's check it out. I got his pig stick and whatnot. And well, you see what happens. So she then comes in on Blade taking the serum and how the pain of this serum racking itself through his body. I love how Wesley Snipes plays this. I mean, he starts shaking and convulsing and whatnot. He also has a bit in his mouth to stop his fangs from or to stop him from his fangs from doing any damage inside his mouth. And gotta love the car and coat. Yeah. I've never been a person for much appreciation for automotive, but I will agree on the coat and the look. So yes, Blade, or the alternative is Blade, she witnesses it, and then he opens his eyes and sees her, and that's when Whistler sees her. So she attempts to flee, and they catch up to her. And I love how when Blade drops down behind her, you don't hear that. You only see him drop down behind her to let you know that this is how skilled and quiet Blade is, which is so freaking great. And then he just comes up with the glaive or with his throwing glaive in his hand and holding it against his bicep like this, which is pretty cool. And he's like, my name is Abraham Whistler. You've met Blade. Now, Abraham Whistler is a direct shout out to Abraham Van Helsing of Dracula from Bram Stoker's Dracula. Bram Stoker is actually also short for Abraham. So Stoker's full first name was Abraham Stoker. Little bit of vampire tease or knowledge for you. So she gets read in, and she's like, and I'm supposed to believe all this. Well, you already met Mr. Crispy at the hospital. What do you think? It's like, I love that. We hunt them, you see, or vampires. The Hominis nocturna. They even have a freaking scientific name, folks. The Hominis nocturna. Human-like, but they are night stalkers. And so he also goes that they can regenerate. Crosses don't do squat, but some legends are true, though. Vampires are severely allergic to silver. Feed them garlic and they go into anaphylactic shock. Then there's also sunlight, ultraviolet rays, and he has this huge UV lamp. He's like, I finally got this sucker running. Want to get it out for a try tonight? And I love Blade. He grabs this thing. He's like, still heavy. Well, you're so big. I love that. Well, you're so big. Abraham Whistler is an original character in the film. The mentor father figure in the comic was a guy named Jamal Afari with additional training from Daredevil's mentor Stick. Oh, isn't that nice? Coat reminds me of Highlander. Yeah, kind of. Great time to be a kid in a long coat, you know? LOL. Well, till a certain thing happened, yeah. This movie came out in 98, 2 years before X-Men. Yes, this is the movie that kicked off the Marvel, or the dynamite that is Marvel. So then Blade tells Karen, if you want to survive to see another day, you'll be out of here by nightfall, and you've been exposed to them. One way or another, somebody's going to take you out. And Whistler tells her, there's a war going on. Blade, me, a few others. We try to keep it from spilling out over the streets. Sometimes people like you get caught in a crossfire. She's like, I got samples. I can go to the police. They own the police. You got to understand, they're everywhere. Chances are you've seen them before and you didn't even know it. Walking down the street, in a bar, they're everywhere, folks. Kind of like those crazy people. They're everywhere. They're freaking everywhere. You wouldn't even know them if you saw them. But it does kind of sound crazy when you think about it. I'm telling you. But yeah. So she's like, so that's it. You just patch me up and send me on my way. And I love that little look that freaking Whistler gives. He's like, he just kind of looks down and looks back up at her, kind of like in a little pouty face. And he's like, here, vampire mace, essence of, or silver nitrate and essence of garlic. But one more thing, buy yourself a gun. If you find that you're sensitive to daylight, or if you find you're thirsty, despite how much you've had to drink, well, I suggest you take that gun and you use it on yourself. Better that than the alternative. Sorry. This was bothering me on my fingers. I had to get rid of it. So, yep, Blade 98, X-Men 2000, Spider-Man 2002. Blade was the start. They just did not know it. Exactly. Well, actually, I'm pretty sure they did know it. However, Spider-Man was, or did the first X-Men have a Stan Lee cameo? I forget. Did it? No. Well, now that's bleeding. I'm a vampire. Anyway, getting back into it. Dragonetti goes down into the archives and sees that Deacon is down there, and he's trying to translate ancient texts. Huh. And Dragonetti tells him, he's like, you wouldn't even understand them. It's a dead language. It can never be translated. And then he yells at him because he thinks that Frost is ignoring him. And he's like, keep your voice down, Katana. We're in a library. No need to shout. And I just love how freaking Dragon Egg just bitch slaps freaking Deacon Frost. The look on his face. He's like, what are you up to, Frost? And he's like, what are you going to do, huh? What? You bore me. Now, not going to lie, when Udo Kier says to Frost, you bore me, I thought he said, when I was younger, I thought he said, blow me. And I'm like, huh. Right. I do remember that. He was in the first one, yep. Naked offshore and escaping after. Yeah, okay, there you go. That was him, yep. I do remember. Thank you, NB Geek. So then, the scene in the library, obvious, or it offers little, but it offers just enough to let you know what he is up to. He's doing, or he wants to translate these texts for a reason. So then Blade drops off Karen, and he's like, keep your eyes open. Remember, they're everywhere. But it's daytime! Uh-huh. That's supposed to make you feel safe. How's it going, everyone? Hey, Zeno, the producer. Hope you're all doing well. Oh, man, I absolutely love Blade. I love the tone, the whole aesthetic of the first movie. It is a good movie. Neozoic, it's interesting that Abraham Whistler became popular despite being an original character that is not from the comics. Whistler was introduced before this movie, if I remember correctly. He was introduced in the original Spider-Man animated series, helping Blade, if I remember correctly. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, Neozoic. Just like how Harley Quinn became popular despite her creation started at Batman the Animated Series. Yep. Who the hell is going to get as Blade if not Snipes? Exactly. They have what's his name? They have Mahershala Ali as, or the thing, having him as the Blade for the MCU, but he doesn't like it because he's the titular character, but he's basically getting written out of his own film in place of the daughter. It's like, what the fuck, man? Fuck off with that shit. Stop with the "we need women" thing. Yeah, you know what you do need? You need to shove a cork in it and shut the fuck up. Marvel. Yeah, I fucking said it. Sorry if I pissed off any women. Not really. I really don't care. But anyway, so she sees these two suspicious-looking people, and it has nothing to do with them being black. It just has everything to do with them having a mark on the back of their necks that look like vampire glyphs. Okay, my mistake. Abraham's first appearance was Spider-Man the Animated Series, not the movie. My bad. Well, like I said, I may be wrong, but you got to do or look it up just to be safe, because I could be wrong. Damn thing. But then she gets in, she starts packing her place, and a cop, Krieger, shows up, and she's like, "Guys at the hospital said you were kidnapped last night. You okay? What happened to the doctor I was with? Curtis Webb, he died. Don't worry about that, okay? Why? Because you're dead too, bitch." And he goes to kill her, so she hits him with the mace. It doesn't work. Who said I was? Yeah, I love that. He's like, yeah, well, they said it was supposed to work against vampires. Now, and Mvuche writes acting in this does get a little bit wonky. She does a good job with some of the acting, but in some or other parts of the acting, she Something tells me that violence really gets this girl off in real life. Not being a domestic assault victim, no. But somehow violence arouses this girl. Because if you see how she looks when Blade kicks this dude across the freaking room, where she has that kind of really excited look on her face and then has to hold it back a little bit, it's like, you know? And I love that. Who said I was a vampire, huh? And then Blade grabs him and trips him up. Nobody. And I love the beating that he just lays down. He's a familiar. Pow! A vampire wannabe. Pow! If he's loyal enough and he proves himself, maybe his master will turn him. Smash! It's like, what the fuck? And he's like, you use me as bait? Get over it. Throws him over onto a freaking coffee table, which busts up that table. Is all of that necessary? And then he slams him down, pulls back his collar. That is a vampire, or is a glyph, a vampire cattle brand. It seems that Krieger here is somebody's property. If another vampire tries to bleed this little hooker, he has to answer to his owner. And then he looks real close at it. Deacon Frost. We've been tracking him for a long time. I love that. It's like, we've been tracking him for a long time. Well, yeah, he's also been tracking you too. Not that you know. But he's like, or then he pulls off the watch. And I love that guy. He's like, how do you think we fund this organization, huh? We ain't exactly the March of Dimes. And Krieger's reaching for the watch and pissed off that he's got his watch taken. And I love Blade. He's looking over here and he's like, just slugs the dude out. And so he then brings him down and you get the blood in the car. Oh, looks like our friend here has been blood running. And Hillbarn Clinic is owned by the vampires. And I love that. And they always deliver. So where are you taking it? I don't know what you're talking about. Smack! I'm only going to ask you one more time. Where are you taking it? Go fuck yourself. Oh, fuck me. You fuck this. And he pulls his gun while Karen, being Karen, is a Karen and stops him from fucking shooting. Karen being a Karen is a Karen. So Krieger ends up getting away, and I love this. You need to wake up. The world you live in is a sugar-coated topping. There is another world beneath it, the real world. And if you want to survive, you better learn to pull the trigger. I love how he delivers that line, man. How would you compare Kris Kristofferson as Abraham Whistler to his other roles such as Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, and Stars Born, Heaven Gate, etc.? I have not seen him in many other movies, to be completely honest. I've only seen him as Whistler. Neozoic. Hey, you want a female vampire, Vampirella? Want a badass woman, Witchblade? Want a fantasy comic, ElfQuest? Interesting. And I honestly can't express how perfectly Wesley Snipes was in this role, man. Exactly. I mean, they cut his role down significantly with all the stunts in the third movie. But in the second movie, he was still doing a lot of his own stunts. But the third movie, holy crap, you could definitely tell when it's not him. Different body build and all sorts of shit. So, moving back on, they're in the car, and she's like, I have to stick with you or I'll stay long enough to find a cure for myself. There is no cure. Well, apparently this dude never heard of a hematologist. She can find out all sorts of fucking shit, you know? So they stake out watching for him, and she's like, he's not going to come back. Nobody's that stupid. And I love that. Once you realize the nature of a thing, once you learn the nature of a thing, you realize what it's capable of. And lo and behold, Krieger comes back, and they follow him straight to the vampire house where he was delivering to Pearl. And the sped up shot, the shaky cam. I don't really like the shaky cam, but I do understand the reason for it. And the sped up cinematography, which also shows a woman getting fed on by a vampire with the mountain lion roar for the vampire. And then the way they move and the way they smell, our Blade can identify vampires. I love that. He's like, the door guard man and the ushers. They're all vampires, and the whore in the corner. How do you know? The way they move and the way they smell. And it's like, holy crap, man. There's worse things out tonight than vampires. Like what? Like me. Or that didn't work too well. Like me. And then he whips it up, or he does his little spin up, grabs, holds, and puts it down in. And then he walks in, and he's like, okay, Vampire Anatomy 101. Crosses in holy water don't do dicks, or use a stake or a wooden stake or silver or garlic. Do you know how to use one of these? Hands or the gun? Yeah, I know. Epic fail. Right? Right. Epic fail, bud. Yeah, I know. And so he's like, he hands her a gun. No, but I'll sure learn damn quick. Safety's off. Rounds already chambered. You aim for the head of the heart. Anything else? It's your ass. Topimato, do you have an invitation? Hello? And I just love this. Pulls off his glasses. Kicks the dude in. And you get the K-pop girls and them doing all their little shit. Dude, I'm legit going to put that on Blu-ray right now. You got me hyped to revisit. Oh, dude, Xeno producer, you just made my day. You just made my day. That's the reason why I do these streams. Is that is that in hopes that people while watching my streams actually get interested in watching the movies or that I review or that I discuss. Because honestly, I enjoy these movies so much. That's why I do a lot of the movies on mystery reviews. They're mostly movies that I like. Only a couple, or when I did movies that I haven't seen for the first time, like Pulp Fiction, I wasn't a total fan of that movie, but I did like it for what it was. I'm also going to be checking out Reservoir Dogs and be doing a review on that later. But that's not going to be a mystery review. But dude, you just made my day with that comment, man. Thank you so much. So we get into the thing, and it's just a bunch of Asian people watching the little Japanese schoolgirl or Asian schoolgirls doing their little K-pop songs. And it's like, what is going on here? How would you compare Wesley Snipes' Blade with other famous comic roles such as Brandon Lee as the Crow, Jack Earl Haley as Rorschach, and so on and so forth? Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker is not comparable. It's not really a comic book movie. But Wesley Snipes as Blade. Wesley Snipes is Blade. You're not going to get a better person to play Blade than Wesley Snipes. I'm simply saying that to be true, man. I only have a steep passion for a few IPs. You do this so much better than I could ever do because I just don't have your ability. Oh, thank you, NB. But, dude, you do a good job at it too, man. I still remember the high-pitched rap in the club. Yeah, exactly, man. It's the they were freaking like 12 or 13-year-old girls dressed like freaking slutty schoolgirls and singing K-pop song. K-pop before K-pop was K-pop. You know? Does that make sense, folks? Hey, Kamen Rider, how you doing? It's Blade, the original Blade. So then Krieger comes out, and he just beats the fuck out of Krieger, man. He beats the fuck out of him. He's like, where's the entrance? I can't tell you that. He just starts beating on him. I'm only going to ask you one more time. Where's the entrance? Okay. It's in that freezer. He beats him even more. And he's like, oh, come on, man. I told you. It's in the fridge. He opens it up, and he's like, oh, son of a bitch. I beat him up for no reason. I mean, it's like, he's like, oh, come on, man. I told you it's in the fridge. The beating that he took, I could understand why he would rat out the damn vampires. But he had to understand that this was his last night on Earth for doing that, right? And so he's like, you give Frost a message for me. It's open season on all suckheads. For some reason, if you watch the original trailer, it says it's open season on all Night Stalkers. What's wrong with suckheads? Honestly, what's wrong with suckheads? Somebody tell me. Fair point. Joaquin Phoenix's Joker role is not comic book. Exactly. It isn't. Morrow movie comes out tomorrow. I don't care. I'll watch that. I've just lost interest in a lot of them modern movies nowadays. One thing I like is, despite some of the CGI from the first movie, the second had more, and both should have more practical effects. Yes. 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 Thank you. Somebody said it. But yes, the CGI in the first movie isn't actually that bad. I mean, the demonic skeleton flying things that fly into Deacon Frost, fine. But for the most part, they were actually pretty solid. Swelled up vampires that explode from the EDTA, pretty good. So they finally are, they're going into the archives. They find out, or they're searching the archives, and Deacon is, or we see that Deacon translates the archive. He finally has it translated. So he sends it to Pearl. Pearl is a records keeper. And the ritual is shown, and Krieger is killed by Frost because, well, Krieger fucked up. And you see this small bat toy. This small bat toy is actually from an action figure that I used to have, where Spider-Man turns into a vampire bat kind of creature. And that was used for like a kind of like a cape, because you also see the cape that it's attached to. That is straight from that action figure, which is pretty cool. And then you go back and you see Deke just ripping into freaking Krieger, man, which is great and whatnot. And he's like, forget the girl, I want Blade, and I want him alive. And you also see the first hint of Blade's mom, but you don't know who it is. But she's in this coffin-like thing, which is pretty cool too. So then we get to the record keeper. And I love it, before you even see him, what's that smell? And then you see him, and it is the biggest and fattest fucking vampire I have ever seen. Its arms are like this. Like, can't do anything. Super long freaking fingernails. This Manchu braid hairstyle. And he's freaking out. Krieger, is that you? He's here! He's here! He's gonna kill me! You did me, Frost! You did me! You useless bloodsucker! And the way that he talks is so freaking hilarious, man. And this dude is so freaking This must be Pearl, the records keeper. He freaking rips one. And you see his body undulate from him farting. Disgusting. I'm telling you. This dude is so fucking fat, man. His whole body is a fucking circle. And then it's freaking Frost is like, Pearl, your history. Have the grace to die with some fucking dignity. And then he is wiping off his mouth and is like, hey, Blade, looks like you found me. Or, heard you've been looking for me. I'm flattered. It'll pass. And, well, now, I do love Deacon's reaction. He's like, fuck. Because, well, losing Pearl is not a good thing for the vampires. The records keeper and shit. As a kid, for some reason, I always felt kind of bad for Pearl. But then I read that in the original script, he ate babies, apparently. So, yeah, fuck Pearl. Exactly. But, folks, you know how I said that Karen Jensen, or the actress Karen Jensen, gets off on pain or seeing others in pain? She freaking lights Pearl up with the UV lamp and enjoys it. When they're interrogating him and he's screaming and whatnot, and then it's like, if he moves, fry him. When you see her shining that freaking UV lamp on him, the cuts to her, you see she has a shit-eating grin on her face, man. She is freaking enjoying this so much that when Blade comes back, She stops and looks worried, like, oh my God, I've just been caught. Like, and it's like, he looks at her, he moved. It's like, yeah, but you've been enjoying that a little too much. This woman's psychotic. So the spray, when he's spraying the C4 foam, that's actually pretty cool too. C4 foam, man, look into that shit. Might have to look into that, see if that's a thing. Other than that, I think it was just pink shaving cream, which they use that as an explosive. And you see the Book of Erebus, the vampire Bible, and how La Magra is one of their legends. But I do love the discussion when he's getting fried and he talks about it in the vampiric language. And there is nothing you can do about it, Daywalker! Is that so? Well, that's what Frost says. Fucking hilarious. Looks like Chet from Weird Science. Don't look into it. You'll be on a watch list. Oof. I don't plan on looking into it, so. Yeah, true. Oh, yeah, the C4 stuff. Yeah, good point. But it's like, or so they find the Book of Erebus, and we get this Karate Kid girl that kicks the shit out of Blade for a little bit, and then he smacks her around. And then you find out it's a setup. And Quinn comes in. He's like, you took my arm, man, but don't worry. I got a new one. Think I'll ever play the piano again? Donald Logue, dude, enjoys playing a vampire. Donald Logue enjoys playing a vampire so much that I believe this line, or his next line, was completely improvised. You can slice them, you can dice them, but the Quinn man just keeps on coming. I just love that line. But the Quinn man just keeps on coming. Fucking hilarious. So he starts beating on Blade and stabs him with the chest. Also, I think Jeff Amata plays one of the Asian vampire dudes that kicks the shit out of Blade too. And but Whistler comes in and rescues his ass. Catch you fuckers at a bad time. Boom. Any updates on the Alec Baldwin thing? Not that I know of. I will be checking that out later, though. I will be checking that out later to make sure. Because I have been covering that, and I freaking love his Christmas as Quinn. Yeah. Or his charisma as Quinn, yeah. I mean, dude, he plays it so great. He's like, no guns! And he's like, stop it, we need him! He wants Blade alive! Go! It's like, so what? You're just going to let him shoot up all your guys? Really? And so, also, folks, remember, Blade just had a freaking stake in his shoulder. So he rips that out, and his other shoulder gets dislocated in a scene after this. This dude goes through so much pain. Blade looks at her. He moves. LOL, priceless. Yeah, exactly. It's like, but dude, seriously, she enjoys the pain too much, inflicting pain and watching pain be inflicted. She just gets off on that a little too much. I mean, I'm pretty sure she had an orgasm while Blade was feeding on her later in this movie, because she's saying, don't stop. And the way that she's moaning and whatnot, we'll get there. I mean, it's essentially the equivalent of a friggin' sex scene, I'm telling you. So we get them escaping through the subway, and Donald Lowe gets up, and I love how he gets face planted into the freaking train. Oh, she is definitely a sadist. I'm an embouchure, right? If you ever see this, are you a sadist? Because I would love to know. But yes, I love that where he just slams his face against the train and it's like so then he gets his arm chopped off, or his other arm chopped off, and it's like, oh damn, this dude can't catch a break, you know? And so then you see the other vampires, Mercury and the others, heading up toward him. This is so freaking creepy, the way that they're trying to get up to him. And then he sticks out his hand, grabs the end of the train. I'm sorry, you would only have to be a vampire to not have your freaking arm ripped off of your body because he catches it and he gets him in. His arm is obviously dislocated at least, so that's good. But I still think it would have ripped his damn arm off. And so she learns that, or he takes his serum, and after getting his arm popped back in, and she's like, "You're one of them, aren't you?" "No, I'm something else." And this movie does such a great job with exposition, and that it doesn't feel cheesy or it doesn't feel like it's done in a bad way. Karen learns the truth about Whistler, that when he found him when he was 13, almost killed him, and his thirst for blood had taken over at puberty, and he was feeding off the homeless, and he almost killed. Or Blade has all of the strengths of the vampires, and none of the weaknesses except for the thirst. By tomorrow, all of his wounds will be healed, but he still ages like a human, and his body is also starting to reject the serum. And then she's like, "Why do you hunt them?" "Had a family once, a wife, 2 daughters. Then a drifter came calling one evening, a vampire. And he toyed with them first, tried to get me to decide which order they'd die in. We kill as much of those or them monsters as possible." And he's also using it or fixing his leg brace while he's doing this. Apparently, his leg got busted up in that encounter with the vampire that he killed when that vampire killed his family. So she goes to look at Blade, and she's like, "He told me about you, told me what you are. You don't know me. You don't know anything about me. I'm not human. You look human. Humans don't drink blood." Well, maybe that was a long time ago. Maybe you should let that go. "I have spent my whole life looking for that thing that killed my mother. And every time I take one of those monsters out, I get a little piece of that life back. So don't you tell me about forgetting." I absolutely love the writing in that scene because he hates himself. Blade hates that part of him that is a vampire. He hates it. It is what drives him. That hatred for himself and for what he was turned into drives him to kill vampires. Is another example of perfect cat. Yes, exactly. Chris Christopherson. Yeah, exactly. How would you compare Blade with other rated R comic book films? Logan, Kick-Ass, Watchmen. Blade is up there. Blade is up there. The Crow is up there too. Logan, Deadpool. All of these are top films that for R-rated comics, book movies. It does. It still does hit. It really does. So then we get Mercury and Quinn freaking arguing while he's getting his stump wrapped. And this woman who's wrapping his stump just gets so freaking irritated that she bites him. And she's like, "Ah, you little skis." She's like, "Fucking." And I love that. "I should stick this stump right in that shit-eating grin of yours. Face it, Angel. You were sloppy. You got what you deserved." And then freaking Deacon comes in, and she's looking like she's like, "Oh shit, did I just get caught?" And freaking Quinn wants to kill him. He's like, "Fucking took my hand again." "Listen to me. I want him alive." "You've been trying to kill this motherfucker for years. Are you out of your mind?" Hey, big guy. Relax. You got a lot to do. You got to have patience. I need you, man. And you see Mercury just looking up at him like, "Fucking asshole." And it's like, she just wishes that Quinn would get staked. She just wishes that freaking Blade would just kill this motherfucker, you know? She wants Deacon all to herself. Also, another fun thing, her name is not mentioned once in the movie. I had to look it up in the credits to find out who she is. So then then we get the kidnapping of Dragonetti scene where she or Deacon, Mercury, and Quinn kidnap Dragonetti, and they take him out to be exposed to sunlight. And they rip out his fangs, and they then put on the sun's block and the suits and whatnot so they don't get burned up. And his flesh just peeling away from his body, his wound or his neck opening up, his face just screaming and whatnot. It is just so bad CGI, but it is such great gruesomeness, and I absolutely love it. And man, when he blows up after the combustion, it is absolutely nuts. So we then get Carol, when he blows up, he blows up. Not gonna lie, the scene traumatized me as a kid. Yeah, right? When you're seeing a dude's skin just peel away just because he's exposed to sunlight, it does kind of fuck you up as a kid. Fucked me up, I'll tell you that much. So then he goes into the council and they're like, what'd you do with Dragonetti? And he tosses him into fangs. And he's like, let's get down to business, shall we? I need 12 volunteers. So then Whistler and Karen borrow some equipment. We see a small fragment of the Book of Erebus, and Whistler somehow knows how to read it. I can only make out part of it. Spirits of the 12, can't make out the rest. And so he then gives him the hard drive that he took from Pearl, and we then see EDTA because she's working on a miracle cure and whatnot, and it's a anticoagulant. We use it to treat blood clots. Now watch what happens when I introduce it to a sample of vampire blood. Take a step back. The reaction's energetic. He doesn't take a step back. He looks into that microscope just as the thing blows up in his freaking face. And I just love how freaking Whistler's looking at him and he's like, Whistler just starts laughing at him. Some cure. I didn't say EDTA was a cure, but maybe you can use it to explode some vampire heads. I'm like, you're trying to come off as serious, but stop that. Stop acting. Be serious. So then she needs a sample of his blood, and so he needs to go downtown to get some serum, but Whistler stops and he's like, serum can wait, this is important. So Whistler starts hacking up, and you now learn that he has cancer. Third one was such a letdown. Exactly. I really like the first two movies. I feel like the third one undid what the first two movies did. Kind of like, yeah. I hear you there, bub. I enjoy Watchmen movie and the other comic book. Respect both for it. Yeah. So, we then see, I like the line where she's like, you got a lot of love for him, don't you? We have a good arrangement. He makes the weapons. I use them. And she's like, my grandmother always said a cold heart's a dead heart. And it's like, he doesn't like hearing that. So then we get the scene where she's checking out her bite marks. And Whistler is like, I guess we didn't catch it in time. You got a day to at the most. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. You're telling me this like or you make it sound like I'm already dead. Basically, you are until you find that cure, girl. So we then see Blade downtown and Deacon in the daylight. He actually hears Deacon whisper, Blade. And you then see the cutting and the buildup of the sound and the rapid cut between the two. And then silence. And Blade is walking up to Deacon in the sunlight. He's like, how you doing, Chief? And he starts getting this ready. And Deke has a little girl with him. He's like, careful. We wouldn't want this girl to show up on the back of a milk carton now, would we? And I like how he's saying this. and rubbing the girl's face, you see his fingernail elongate into a claw, which is pretty nice. And so he's like, sunblock. Hey, it's a start, right? The real goal, however, is to be like you, a daywalker. And he's like, look at him, or cattle, just pieces of meat, and he wants to call a truce. And he's like, what, you think I'm stupid? And then he recites what Pearl told him. The spirits of the 12 will awaken La Magra. You're familiar with the blood god. And he tells him, he's like, Frost, you're nothing to me but another dead vampire. You're an idiot. You know that? I come here offering you an easy way out and you spit it right back in my fucking face. And when Blade just moves just a little bit, his hand just comes this closer to the gun. Frickin' Deacon is watching him, man. Like a hawk. He's like, careful. And he just lifts the girl by her neck up like this. And it's like, what do I care? And nothing but cattle, like you said. But the one thing that can get Blade's ire, the one thing that will get him every freaking time, is a jab at his mom. Dude doesn't like mama jokes. So it's like, you want to take the hard way out, be my guest, pal, but I promise you by the time this is over, you're going to wish they never cut you from your mother's. And you don't hear it you don't hear the end of it, because at this point, or it's like, just that quick, folks. I mean, it's like that quick. Boom, boom, boom. And we get the pre-bullet time, where here's the 3 bullets. And as he moves to the side, he throws the girl. She goes through a bus stand and a hot dog stand and the bus stand and lands in the... How did this girl survive that? Is beyond me. Now, I love the look of Blade. He's like, what? I mean, he watches this and then he fires on Deacon to try to kill him. And it doesn't work. So then he has to save the girl. And I love how in the sound effects, they make even the leaf have sound like whipping in the wind. It's like, I'm like, whatever. Doesn't seem like you needed to put money into that, but okay. So then he tells the little girl to go home. And we get cut back to the hideout, where Whistler and Karen are talking about why vampires need to drink blood, because their own blood can't sustain hemoglobin. It's a genetic defect like hemolytic anemia. I have no idea what that is. So you could treat it with a retrovirus that is used for sickle cell anemia. And he's like, are you sure that's safe? I'm not so sure, but I don't have a choice, do I? I mean, do you really think it'll work on me? Yes. On Blade, I'm not so sure. You see, Blade didn't contract vampirism like from a bite like I did it. He was born with it. It's part of his DNA. So I am pretty sure I can cure his thirst, but it'll take time. We're out of time. You saw what was on that disc. And, well, that's when they realized they got company. Now, there is a weird cut in this shot, folks, where while they're shooting at the guys, the first shot that Whistler, when he shoots a shotgun, that first shot, there's a cut of the guy already falling before he gets hit to fall. And I'm like, if you have a very keen eye, you'll notice these things. Just like there was a scene, or just like small little screw-ups in the Angel series, because I'm watching the Angel series after I finished watching Buffy. And it's like, I'm noticing some stuff here. You know? Like how one dude loses a freaking monster lens as he's getting dunked in the water. And it's only there for like the smallest second. How would you compare Stephen Dorff as Deacon Frost with his other roles, such as Glenn from The Gate 87? Never seen or I've never seen him in other roles except for Alone in the Dark, where he plays one of those agent guys, and he plays one of those real gung-ho agent guys that doesn't trust the main character at all. He plays, or Steven Dorff, he's got range. He plays a good villain. He plays a good guy. You know, he played Burke I think his name was Burke in that movie, Alone in the Dark. Gotta say, there's a freaking ladybug on my screen. If it walks across the camera, folks, I'm sorry. But, yeah. So they're shooting at the guys, and they manage to get a couple, and that's when Deacon shoots, that's when Quinn shoots Whistler in the leg, and then Deacon just comes up and curb stomps the ever-loving fuck out of Whistler. Literally, just stomps on him, curb stomping him, beating the hell out of him, and then tells Quinn to do his thing. Well, he curb stomped him to the point where they're just so freaking massive blood all over his face, man. And when Blade gets back and sees all of this, sees the video that says "Play Me," moves it over, he's not even looking at this. He pulls the sheet down. Then he looks over and sees Whistler. Oh, he's like, oh. And then he's looking at all what's going on. And that's when he hears Whistler talking back. Frost took her. And he starts treating. I love how he does this with what's his name? With Whistler, how he's actually dabbing his wounds, trying to clean him up as best as he can, while Whistler's going over what's going on. How he's the key because they need his blood, the blood of a daywalker, to trigger the freaking vampire god. And he's like, give me your gun. Or he's like, you're going to have to finish me off, Blade. You don't want me coming back. We can treat the wounds. It's too far gone, and you know that. Give me your gun. No. Give me your goddamn gun. And then he pulls it. I mean, this scene, yes, Zeno. This scene broke my freaking heart, dude. And he's like, just now walk the fuck away. Now walk away, you stupid son of a bitch. I mean, he stays true to his character. Now, at first, I thought he said, now walk away and stop that son of a bitch. No, he says, walk away, you stupid son of a bitch. He wants to push Blade away so that Blade can grow from this experience. And Blade starts walking, and that's when you hear the gunshot, and they actually show the cut of his hand falling down and dropping the weapon. Well, then you see Blade watching the video of them menacing Karen, and Deacon telling him, by the time you see this, your friend Whistler should be dead. If it's any consolation, he put up quite a fight. You'll find us at the Edgewood Towers. Basically, it's a fuck you, come and get me kind of video. Well, then we see Blade meditating, preparing silver bullets, prepping the EDTA, and cutting back with him meditating, or while he's doing all of this. And then he opens his eyes, swipes everything off, picks up the plant. Now that plant, if you don't, or it's never explained, but that plant has been with him during his entire partnership with Whistler. So him cutting the root off and dropping it is symbolic. I am now no longer bound to another. I have grown beyond those who have cared for me. I will take this on myself, essentially. That is what the cutting of those roots means. I am now on my own. No more growing. I am now a man. And it does a really good job at it, too. So when he freaking arrives, this next scene where you get Deacon talking to Karen, saying there's no cure. And she's like, there is a cure if you've once been bit. How'd you get that scar, Deacon? Now, folks, I've actually had to look up where this scar on Deacon is. And apparently, it's above his eyebrow on one of his eyes. Never noticed it before, but that's where it was. And I love when she calls him nothing but a virus, a sexually transmitted disease. And I love it. It's like, I'll tell you what we are, sister. We're the top of the fucking food chain. Blood God's coming, and after tonight, you people are fucking history. He's a hurricane, an active god. Anyone caught in his path will instantly be turned. How you gonna cure the whole fucking world? I love how he just fucking throws that right in her face, man. That it's like, she's like, okay, that's kind of fucking scary now, man. And I'm a sadist, but that's too sadist. It's great the way that Steven Dorff delivers that line, dude. I mean, especially when he leans right into the light where the reflective water light is on his face. It's just so freaking good. Now, a lot of people say that he says he's a hurricane, an act of God. It's actually an active God. An active God, but instead of an act of God, is an active God is one that actually goes down and interacts with mortals. He's active. Where an act of God, it's like, okay, I'll just toss my finger down there, swirl up a hurricane. There you go. Fun fact, Wesley Snipes originally wanted to make an adaptation and star as T'Challa, Black Panther, but failed to get the project into production, but led to Snipes play as Blade. Nice! Although, did you think Wesley Snipes would be good as Black Panther? He's got the martial arts, background for it. I think he would have done a good job as either T'Chaka or possibly even T'Challa. I thought he may have done it, or he would have done a good job. I'm not going to lie. I thought he would have done a good job. Now, then you get the guy reporting that there's an intruder. And, well, this is Blade going full fucking savage, folks. When Blade freaking goes in, and you're hearing nothing but the freaking engine of the motorcycle. Just, vroom, vroom. It's like, and these guys are all looking around, and you hear Blade or freaking Donald Logue's like, dude, you don't know how bad this motherfucker is. There's like 20 guys around him, and he's just fucking slaughtering them all, man. He's got the sword. Yeah, the sword. He toss it up there, catch it underneath. Yeah, shut the fuck up. Look, make it happen. It's one guy on foot. He's talking into the into the communicator. Now, the guy in the communicator is like, there's no sign of an intruder where we are, you know? He's like, there's no sign of any intruder where we are. Look, make it happen. It's one guy on foot. Well, Blade just comes in with his motorcycle and just slaughters. All of his freaking bullets, just slaughtering all the guys. Many of these guys are human, by the way. He doesn't fucking care. He doesn't care to the point where he keeps count of how many humans he's killed. Because in the third movie, they actually ask him, how many humans have you killed, Blade? 1,132. But they were all familiars, people who work with him. But this dude keeps count of how many humans he killed. 1,182 or something like that. Blade has been grinding side quests for a while, clearly. I know. And one of the best parts is like, there's this guy that's freaking begging for his life. Please, no, I just work for them. And you see Blade on the other side of the waterfall, but lifted up the shotgun, and you see the shotgun go off. It's like, this dude is just fucking had enough. You killed Whistler, you fucking die. All of you. Scorched earth. But then we get the martial arts duo, and we see the effects of EDTA against vampires. Well, when she says explode vampire head, she fucking meant it, man. These fuckers swelled up like freaking balloons, turned all red and shit, and then just. And I'm like, whoa, okay. Karen? I'm pretty sure you'd probably have an orgasm or two from watching that, considering how sadistic you are. I know I'm busting on the actress for loving violence so much, but folks, the way that she looked when she did all that shit, it kind of supports it. It kind of supports it. I mean, I'm willing to bet she would have outright freaking just Niagara Falls from seeing vampires explode. You know? I think the effect is cool, but it always makes me chuckle. Yeah, exactly. It's campy, but it works. It's campy, but it works. So then he gets into the area and he sees his mom. And he's like, but you died. I came back, Eric, that very same night, and Deacon welcomed me into his arms. And that's when Deacon hits him with the shockers and shocks him up. Gee, I thought you would be happy. You finally reunited with your mom and you act like this? And he tells him, you waited your whole life, or you searched your whole life for the vampire who bit your mother. Well, here I am. You know? And it's like, kind of had a feeling I knew who it was. But it was because, or now, folks, if I didn't know from what this movie was showing me that, or that he was looking for a daywalker, if I didn't know that after he changed his plans, or if he didn't change his plans and he always wanted Blade alive, I would wonder if he had already known about La Magra to begin with. But it was only until mid-movie that he decided to change his plans and wanted or needs Blade alive for the ritual. So it's almost wondering if him coming across his or Blade's mom was happenstance or just sheer dumb fucking luck or by design, you know? Do you feel as if the movie was too obvious that it was Frost all along? Actually, no. I mean, he hints at it. I know everything about you, Whistler, your serum, and whatnot. But I don't think that it is plainly, or I don't think that it is too obvious, no. It's hinted that he knows a lot about him, or it's said that he knows a lot about him, but I don't think that it was, or that it's obvious that it was him that turned his mom. Until right up to that point. That's when it's, or just before, that's when you basically figure it out. So you then see they get put in the back of a truck and led over to some temple. And he's like, I need my serum. Maybe when this is over, I'll take that miracle cure of yours. And there's one catch. If he takes it, he'll be completely human. No more regeneration, no more strength, no more speed. Completely human. So, yeah, that's the catch. So then they get down into the temple, and they're basically given a little history lesson, and he shows that he knows the secret of the sword and whatnot, and how Blade is going to be used, and that that the elders of the House of Erebus seemingly forgot that the temple existed. Exactly, right? Now I'll stay half vamp. I mean, the trade-off is you got to feed on blood or you get the serum, you know? So we see the ritual tossing Karen in, or ritual prep, tossing Karen in to reunite with Curtis. Now, according to them, sometimes it happens that if you bite some dude and completely drain them, like completely, or a little too much, they will turn into this like cannibalistic zombie vampire. Curtis, her ex-boyfriend, turned into this cannibalistic zombie vampire. And Karen, no pulse. And then there's also the question of lividity. Curtis? Karen, I never thought I would see you again. Tell me, Karen, do you ever have second thoughts about us? And it's like, this is beyond creepy. So she escapes from that. Thank God. But yeah, still a bit super creepy, right? Right. Tell me, Karen, do you ever have second thoughts about us? Yeah, give that zombie man a kiss, baby. And she busts up a bone escaping from him because she smacks him with a bone and whatnot, and then she beats the fuck out. She smacks him again. She takes a few more good swings for good measure and then jumps out. Like I said, she's a sadist, man. I mean, she never even knew how to use a gun before that, but then she is such a sadist. Yikes. How would you compare vampires in Blade with other modern vampires such as 30 Days a Night, Underworld? I like the ones in Blade. They're the basic vampires, basically. The ones from Underworld are more sophisticated, and I think that's cool too. But I also like that they don't ash, unless, of course, they are seen or burned up by sunlight. But I do like this version of vampires. They're basic, but they work. So we then see that Blade is put into a bleeding sarcophagus where it's meant to bleed, or a bleeding sarcophagus, which is meant to cut his wrists and bleed him out. And his mother has no remorse. And she's hunted, she's killed, and she's enjoyed it. And sooner or later, you realize the thirst always wins. That was used later on in Blade 3, when Dracula reminds him, sooner or later, the thirst always wins. Now, she sets it up, and the elders are getting antsy. One elder starts talking shit to Mercury, and she's like, are you sweating pure blood? Are you afraid we're going to steal your soul, your pure blood spirit? You should be. Read the prophecy. It's about time you fucks contributed something to the cause. And then the one that really hated Frost, he's like, you really think, maybe Frost is right. Do you really think he cares about you? You're going to die just like the rest of us. And she just fucking had enough of this dude. She pulls a sword, sticks it through him, and then kicks him as he's ashing out. So it's like, sweetheart, please tell me you have a spare elder. Because you kind of needed that elder to be alive for the frickin' ritual. Did you have a spare elder? Don't know. Why? Oh, geez. But it just does make you wonder in that moment. It's like, she just killed one of those 12. Do you guys got a spare in the back or in the back room? Maybe hidden in the closet somewhere. I don't know, but get us a frickin' elder. So you also get tonight the age of man comes to an end. We're going to be gods. I'm going to be naughty. I'm going to be a naughty vampire god. Freaking Donald Logue, dude. His charisma just is freaking nuts. So then Karen makes it up to the sarcophagus and releases Blade. And again, she's like, I want you to take some of my blood. No. Look, just do it. And so he's starting to feed on her while all the others are getting blood dripped all over the foreheads down below them. Now, whenever I show people this movie for the first time, the feeding scene always makes the mood turn slightly awkward. Well, again, she's saying, and moaning, don't stop. She's saying that. And she is, or when he's convulsing with her in his arms, as he's feeding, and she's just moaning, and it's like, I mean, you might as well be fucking her, man. She's getting off, apparently. Holy crap. And suddenly she still has some way of, after getting all that blood drained from her, she's still able to get up and fight. That didn't make sense. I mean, she sneaks up on the guy, grabs the shotgun, blasts him out, while the others are getting fried and having their demonic skeletons pull themselves out of the mouths of the elders and fly around as they ash out. And then they start flying through Deacon, and his eyes go all blood red, like pure blood red, like a Chiss. I mean, if you put blue skin on him, he'd be a Chiss from Star Wars. It's that's how Chiss should look, by the way. Pure red, not that shit that they did in Rebels. But fuck that. Off topic. But yeah, you're not wrong, dude. Seeing the producer, you're not wrong. That shit is indeed freaking weird, or it's sexual. It's sexual. That's the only way you can describe it. It is downright freaking sexual. Now, let's see here. You also had then you get the Blade versus Mommy, and he manages to beat her, and she's like, I'm your mother. You wouldn't hurt your mother, would you? I must release you. And he kills her, coinciding with the rest, or with the elders getting blasted and whatnot. And Deacon becomes the blood god, La Magra, essentially. Now, folks, I've looked up La Magra. It means, in Spanish, the lean. You'd think it would mean something a little bit more profound, or something more sinister. The lean. I am the vampire god, the lean. David Goyer, you're fired. I'm just saying, man. Karen, no offense to the people that is named Karen. Man, every time I heard the name Karen, I expected someone is going to act like a Karen. I know, right? But yeah, so she's watching Blade. When Blade freaking, after he kills his mom, he just runs down and jumps down, gets hit, or now somehow he got he's running towards the antechamber. When he jumps, or while he's running, he has his vest in his hand. When he jumps, the vest is on, but not fully closed. When he lands, the vest is fully closed. And it's like, wow, he did all of that while he was in super speed mode. So only way I can explain it. Frost! Kill him. Wait, I got 2 new hands, dude, and I can't decide which one to use to kill you with. And then we finally get the death of Quinn with wire. Ripcord wire from the vest. Slam. Catches the awesome sunglasses, puts them on, and just starts beating the ever-loving fuck out of the vampire guards. I mean, when the first dude jumps in and he kicks that dude, this camera shakes. Like, literally, like that. Like that. And it's like, holy crap, dude. And they really sell with the sound effects that that Blade is just fully energized and ready to fucking kill. And I love it. When the way that he's just pounding these guys, where he drops down, smashing one dude across the knee, dropping the dude. He catches one guy on his shoulder, crushes his leg downward, and he's just kicking the shit out of one dude and just yells out, Frost, again. And then he gets a sword, slices them all up and such. It is all so freaking good. And while this is happening, you also have Karen fight Mercury, trying to shoot her with the shotgun. Doesn't work. Grabs her by the throat, smacks her, and then she punches her against the wall. I'm really going to enjoy this now. Ah. Well, Karen still had her vampire mace, and makes Mercury swallow. Anyway, every time it gets to Quinn's death, catching the sunglasses and music kicks in, yeah, it always puts a massive grin on my face. Especially when he kicks the dude in the face and then kicks him in the stomach and then just walks by and just pushes him. He's like, just walking by. That was also another one. I got struck by lightning. Was the lyrics. I mean, he just really goes brutal, man. So then you get the kind of the sword fight's not its best. Um, a lot of this just up and side and side and side and side. Yeah, you gotta have a sword fight with gusto, folks. When you're doing this, just nothing but this with a sword fight, no, 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 doesn't work too well. So then he slices off Deacon's hand, his hand ashes, and then he slices Deacon in half, and Deacon regenerates. Well, yeah, obviously he's a blood god. You're too late, Blade. And then he picks it, or the blood just forms another hand, and he's like, I agree, but I think it still works well. Yeah, it still works, but yeah, it's So then he is running away from him, and he stabs him square in the chest. And Deacon he's like, pushes him away. So it's like, okay. And he then starts beating on Blade, and he's like, my turn, and super speed. And it's like, oh. Like, I love that. Huh? Going. Gets smacked across the wall, and then he gets beat, or the shit kicked out of him a little bit. And he's like, look at you. You're a little bitch. What? Your serum? Now, Frost knows about the serum. He doesn't know what it looks like. So he's like, what do we have here? Your precious serum. He thinks the EDTA was the serum. And he's like, it can't help you now, stud. And it's like, oh, if you only knew. Yeah, so we get the nice shot where he throws it up. He triggers the handle trap and throws it at the crack, and it triggers the trap to loosen the stuff. And you get Ninja Star EDTA into Deacon. Now, when Deacon jumps up like this, hands up, kind of like a freaking werewolf, and his legs are bent upward, it's like, why? Why? What is the purpose of this? What are you going to do when you land? Well, what he's going to do when he lands is puff up like a fucking Puff the Magic Dragon blood balloon. Now, folks, the reason why I think that the EDTA works on Lamagra when nothing else could kill him is because he is pure blood. Not a pure blood. He is pure blood. His body is just nothing but blood. Well, we all know what a lot of EDTA can do to vampire blood. It blows it up, causes a huge reaction. And I love some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill. Tosses it up and does a flourish kick to finish the coup de grace in the head. Now, when he blows up and Blade goes like this, you don't see any entrails landing near Blade, which kind of sucks. So then he gets up there and they get up out of there, and he's like, it's not over yet. You keep your cure. You keep your cure. There's a war going on, and I have a job to do. You want to help me build me a better serum, or make me a better serum. But yes, that finishing line is pure perfect. So then we get the Moscow scene where he stops a vampire from killing a woman that it was bringing to a safe house. A mirror of the beginning of this movie with the stupid groupie. And I love how he's like, "Hey, Biafla, catch you at a bad time, comrade." At this point, Blade is looking for Whistler. This was basically, he ended up in Moscow looking for Whistler. And that's the end, roll credits. So, objectively speaking, you have some subpar acting on the behalf of Mbouche Wright. Mbouche Wright's acting could be a little bit better. She looked like she took a little too much pleasure from the painful scenes or the inflicted pain scenes. I mean, she must have an inner sadist there somewhere, but it doesn't fit her character too much. This was an innocent who got attacked by a vampire, and then suddenly she's all gung ho for people and getting off on their pain. So it's like, holy crap, woman. Kind of creepy. So yes, that acting could have been a little bit better. The writing is pretty good. It is very good. Is it established in the first movie that Whistler is alive? No, but it is in the said in the second movie that that they kept moving him around. I always assumed that the sequel retconned his death. The sequel did retcon his death, as did the show, which showed up why he was in, or that miniseries that they had as well. But the movie, but objectively speaking, this movie has some writing issues, has some acting issues. Some of the CG could have been a little bit better. However, it is pretty good for what it was at the time. So objectively, this movie is about a 7.5 out of 10. Objectively, that's without bias. That is looking at it without a biased lens. You have some writing problems. You have acting problems. You have an actor that is kind of really has a tonal shift when she gets involved into everything to where she enjoys inflicting pain. That just doesn't work. But otherwise, subjectively, I would put this movie at a 9 out of 10. The problems that are in the movie objectively, from the objective standard, do not get treated as harshly in the subjective. So yes, some of the acting was not done well, but I still love the movie to the point where it's a 9 out of 10. Moviegoer, this movie keeps you in it. It's a 10 out of 10. It keeps you in it. It keeps you loving it and whatnot. For me, I'm so biased towards this movie, but I understand what you're saying, man. Yeah. I mean, when it comes to movies, I can look at them from three different ways. With the bias, which is subjective, without bias, objective, and with the moviegoer, which is based on entertainment value alone. I'm not deconstructing it. Moviegoer is a score that's based solely on was it entertaining and how entertaining was it, essentially. So yeah, that is going to be the review for Blade. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Before I say thank you to the chat, I want to go through the hint to kick off next week's mystery review. Evil Resurrected. All of the April Easter mystery reviews will have resurrection or a character being resurrected. I will give more hints as I go through. But for this one, Evil Resurrected. And I will also give you more hints. Follow me on Twitter at VolenOHR, VOLENOHR on Twitter, and you will get more hints throughout the week leading up to next week's mystery review. You will get more hints. They will come at random times, sporadic times. Please, if you have a computer, go onto your computer, click my profile, click the bell on the computer. You'll be notified of my tweets there, so you're not getting your phone blown up whenever I tweet. That's the best, or that's what I can suggest. Also, I'm still trying to get my subscriber count up to at least 1,500 by the end of the year. I would love to hit 2,000, but I would also like to get my hours up to 4,000 so I can monetize before the end of the year. I want to be eligible for monetization eventually sometime this year. So if you all can help me that, I got a bunch of playlists. You can watch the previous playlists. You can leave likes on the upcoming. Just go to my mystery reviews playlist on my channel. It's very easy to find. I also have other playlists that you can watch. I'm beginning I have the MCU Infinity Saga Sundays, where I'm going to be discussing all of the MCU movies each Sunday. Next Sunday is Easter, so it won't be until the Sunday after Easter that we continue. Tonight, I will be on the Bar Room podcast with Jacob Smith from Society Reviews, as well as Cassie from Cult Classic Cage, and others discussing some of the controversial Hollywood topics and some of the insanity in Hollywood. Thank you so much. As to those in the chat, thank you to Neozoic, Zeno the producer, NB Geeks, Christian Freights, Ruben Thomas, Vanja, and Cassie. Thank you for coming in. Kamen Rider. And who else? Ruben Thomas, I already said hi to. Christian Freights. Yep. And that is all. Thank you all so much for coming in. Y'all have a wonderful and amazing day. And this has been Orange Hat Reviews. Always remember, stay humble.